Brought to you by Baby Lock, for the love of sewing. Sulky Threads. Express yourself with Sulky and create with confidence.
Welcome to Quiltmakers Block Network. I'm Diane Harris with Quiltmaker Magazine, and today I'd like to share with you Paisley Punch, block number 107. It's a block I designed for Quiltmakers 100 Blocks, Volume 2. For this block, you'll need a background fabric and assorted prints that have some contrast, and you just want to be sure that you can see the difference between the background fabric and these prints. You'll find the cutting dimensions and everything else you'll need for this block on the right-hand side of your screen. This will be a 12-inch finished block. So you'll want to trace onto the fusible web, and you do that by laying the fusible web on top of the pattern and trace with a pin. And if you want to reverse one of the paisleys, you might not know this, but you can actually turn the fusible web upside down and you can draw on the wrong side, which works great for reversing. So when you turn it over, you can still see that line. So after you've traced your design onto your fusible web, you want to put it onto the back of your fabric with the rough side down, the paper side is up. And if you need to rough cut these out so that you can fit a few more onto the wrong side of the fabric, you can do that. And then you use an iron, following the manufacturer's instructions for the type of fusible that you're using, and iron the patterns to the back side of the fabric. So then you've cut out all of your shapes from the fusible web on the line, and you want to peel the paper off, just like so. Get rid of that paper. And then you want to arrange your paisleys on your block however you want. Making sure that you have enough margin here along the edge. You don't want to get it too close to the edge there, because you're gonna have a seam allowance there. So you want to leave some space for the seam allowance and a little bit of margin in there. Then you're going to take your iron and you're going to press all these down to fuse them onto the block. And I made a couple of tiny ones too to sprinkle in wherever I wanted. Now for this step, you're going to actually secure the patches down onto the block. And I made a sample here so that you could see. So I made this in contrasting stitches so that you could actually see it. So I set my zigzag to about 1 millimeter in length and about 1 millimeter wide. So here you can see this is actually the size that the zigzags would be. And then over here I made them larger so you could actually see how the stitches stay on the applique patch. The stitches really are not on the background at all, but they just are on the applique patch. So this is the size you actually want them, but this is how they are placed. So you would do that with all of the patches, and I used matching thread, so I used a different color for each one of these, and sew by machine all the way around each patch. And that completes the Paisley Punch block. You can see how it would look if you put Paisley Punch in a setting with some flying geese sashing. And here we used similar colors for the flying geese. But you could try something like dark colors behind in the flying geese backgrounds, and it would look like this. Another thing you could do would be to change the orientation of some of the blocks by rotating them, or you could change the paisleys around, reversing them and rotating them. And of course you'll have lots of different fabrics that you'll be using if you're making a scrappy quilt, so you'd get a look more like this. Lots of different things you can do with Paisley Punch. You'll find Paisley Punch and 99 other amazing blocks in Quiltmakers 100 Blocks Volume 2. Thanks for being with me here today. We'll see you next time on Quiltmakers Block Network. I guess the thing that my coworkers would say about my quilts is that they use lots of crazy fabrics in very unlikely combinations. I've learned to use a design wall and try things that might not strike you as a great combination when you first see it, but if you put some wildly incongruous fabrics up on a design wall and stand back, you would be surprised at what can happen. So I love combining lots of different fabrics in a quilt. When I do a border, I don't see any reason to use one fabric for all 4 borders when you could use 4 fabrics, when you could put a different fabric on each border. So that's the kind of thing that I do on my own time. I experiment with fabrics a lot.